Right here?
There you go.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, we have moved the venue to, today due to the upcoming election and increased election traffic in the administration building, and the increased number of citizens attending our public session and meeting. We will be happy to listen. We have received it, reviewed it, and the matter is final. We've reaffirmed the ordinance, and we're not going to change it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Get minutes.
I had some extra.
We're ready.
Okay, John.
Good morning, I'm John Winkelplex, speaking on behalf of Tama County Against Turbines.
And I'm Janet Wilson, also speaking today on behalf of Tama County Against Turbines.
While we appreciate the fact that today's meeting has been moved to a larger venue equipped with microphones, as we've requested of you previously so the public can better hear the discussion, we are concerned that once again you've denied our coalition's request to officially be on the agenda today. Can you please explain why you denied our request to be on the agenda? We're listening, and the public deserves to hear your answer.
No comment.
The public strongly and respectfully disagrees with your continued opinion that no changes are necessary to Tama County's existing wind conversion system ordinance. Specifically, that's ordinance 6.1, which was split out from the county's master zoning ordinance in 2010. As we've done publicly each week since April 25th, we're referring to the ordinance you reapproved without a single change on May 16th, despite the signatures of more than 800 citizens who asked for change. Larry, you cited the threat of Salt Creek project developers, investors, and their attorney as a reason you would not pursue a moratorium. We've read that Salt Creek attorney's letter. The fact is, it says nothing about a threat of a lawsuit for updating the ordinances. Let me repeat that. The letter from the Salt Creek attorney threatening to sue Tama County says nothing about a threat of a lawsuit against the county for updating the inadequate ordinances. That old ordinance dates back to 2010 when it was split out from the master zoning ordinance, essentially unchanged from 1998. So let's talk about action items we're requesting the county to amend in the existing ordinance to better protect the public safety. Action item number 1, the setbacks. Tama County's current setbacks are minimal. For homes, schools, libraries, churches, it's 1,000 feet or 2 times the height of the turbine. For the public right-of-way, the distance is just 1.1 the height of the turbine. No matter how you look at it, Tama County's current ordinance doesn't provide enough safety from the ice thrown from turbine blades in the winter or the wake from the wind of them year-round. Far greater distances need to be required as setbacks in the Tama County wind ordinance. Plus, Tama County's ordinance allows wind turbines to trespass and create unsafe danger zones on the property of adjoining landowners who have not signed easements for wind turbines. That is not right. Therefore, instead, Tama County's wind ordinance needs to be amended to calculate setbacks from the property lines of non-participating landowners, not just houses or other structures. For example, for greater public safety, Tama County's wind ordinance needs to increase its setbacks to a minimum of 2,000 feet from a non-participating landowner's property, or 4 times the total turbine height with the blades fully extended, whichever is greater. So for example, if a turbine is 650 feet tall with its blades fully extended, the total setback would be 2,600 feet from a non-participating landowner's property line for greater public safety. Someone who has not signed an easement for a wind project should not have to suffer the loss of the use of their property because a money-hungry adjoining landowner has signed an agreement. Greater setbacks provide greater public safety and reduce trespass zoning and danger zones that render portions of non-participating landowners' properties unsafe.
Action item number 2, noise levels. Like the setback language in Tama County's wind ordinance, the noise levels allowed haven't changed in 24 years either. Tama County's ordinance at 60 decibels allows wind turbines to emit far too much noise and dangerous infrasound. In fact, the current ordinance mentions nothing about infrasound. Infrasound vibrations that are often inaudible can cause more potential health issues than even audible noise levels. Instead, Tama County needs to add language limiting infrasound and also lower the amount of noise wind turbines can emit at any time to an actual, not an average reading of no more than 40 decibels max at any time for greater public health and public safety. Allowing noise levels to remain at 60 decibels as stated in the current ordinance is harmful to hearing and the quality of life for people and other living things. Action item number 3, decommissioning. Tama County's current ordinance says that wind energy conversions shall be considered as a discontinued use 1 year without energy production, unless a plan is developed and submitted to the zoning administrator. How will the county know and verify when the wind turbine is no longer generating electricity? Instead, Tama County needs to strengthen its ordinance to require those operating turbines to provide a monthly report for each turbine indicating the amount of energy generated from each turbine each month. Once it starts generating electricity until it is put out of service and decommissioned. Other wind ordinances, like that in Boone County, Missouri, include more stringent enforceable requirements, and Tama County should too. Tama County also needs to amend its ordinance to add language that says that it is unlawful for any person to construct, install, maintain, modify, or operate wind energy conversion systems that is not in compliance with the Tama County's ordinance or with any condition contained in wind energy conversion systems Conditional Use Permit Ordinance. Buchanan County in northwest Missouri is one example of a county that requires that there need to be consequences for those developers and operators who fail to comply with Tama County's wind ordinance, including loss of project approval. Tama County's ordinance should also require that developers set up and provide proof that an escrow account has been established up front to set aside at least $1 million for each turbine proposed for construction adjusted for inflation. That needs to be set aside up front in an escrow account before any applications for wind energy conversion systems are considered by the county in any form. Not 15 years into a project when a developer may be insolvent or may have sold the project off, perhaps even multiple times. Tama County's wind energy conversion systems ordinance should also be amended to ensure that when turbines are decommissioned or torn down, that all aspects of the site are returned to their original state. Fremont County in southwest Iowa requires that all turbine blades, rotors, nacelles are removed. To protect soil and water quality, Tama County needs to amend its ordinance to also require that all wind energy device foundations, pads, underground electrical wires, and any and all other underground wind energy structures and improvements shall also be removed. It is not enough to only remove the turbine structure when decommissioning. The entire infrastructure, including underground wiring, needs to be removed.
Action item number 4, shadow flicker. Shadow flicker is like rapidly turning the light switch off and on. It's what lights often do when they blink before power outages. Shadow flicker can trigger health issues in people like migraines, insomnia, dizziness, and even seizures in some people. It's essential to amend Tama County's ordinance to require no shadow flicker at the property line. Action item number 5, conditional use permits. Tama County's language around conditional use permits is vague and far too minimal. For example, conditional use permits have no expiration date. Instead, conditional use permits need to expire within 2 years of their issuance. The Salt Creek's project's conditional use permits that have been approved by Tama County are minimal too. In fact, they are so non-specific that Salt Creek project proponents don't even know exactly what they will be using in terms of turbines or even exactly where they will be placed. That doesn't give the public confidence that if phase 1 of the Salt Creek project proceeds, that the turbines will comply with even the minimal requirements in our existing ordinance. It also gives the public no confidence that the turbines in the Salt Creek project will be properly sited before construction proceeds any further. In fact, proper placement of turbines is essential to ensure that the turbines do not interfere with the county's emergency communication system or any radio, TV, cell, or Doppler radar signals. That's another reason why Tama County's minimal, outdated ordinance needs a complete and thorough review and updating throughout. As we've said before, our coalition is willing to partner with the county on that process of amending the current WICS ordinance for greater public safety. Also, Tama County's ordinance needs to be amended to require an application fee per wind turbine to provide for the cost of administering and enforcing the wind energy conversion system ordinance. For example, Tama County should implement a $1,000 per turbine application consideration fee to help fund staff to review the wind project application and enforcement, since current county zoning staff now only works part-time. If the conditional use permit is not granted, the application fee should not be refunded. The conditional use permit should also expire if construction has not begun 2 years from the date the permit was issued, or if the WICS is out of service or unused for a 12-month period of time. Tama County WICS ordinance also needs to account for repowering, where longer blades or beefed up components are retrofitted into existing turbines to generate more electricity and more profits for turbine operators. Tama County needs to amend its ordinance to add language that the WICS permit shall be revoked if the WICS is moved or otherwise altered so as to not be in conformity with the regulations. That will also help ensure that turbines don't interfere with emergency communication systems or other signals like Doppler, radar, radio, TV, or cell signals once the turbines have been properly sited up front in the application process. Tama County also needs to add language that building permits will be required from the county before construction of meteorological towers, operations and maintenance buildings, and the wind turbines. Before any conditional use permits are issued, the county should amend its ordinances to require that at least 3 public hearings are held, at least 30 days apart, and that the public shall have the right to comment on the proposed project or application in each hearing, and that all public comments are addressed in these public hearings. The county ordinance should also require that everyone in the footprint of the proposed project and within 20 miles of every direction of it, regardless of how far away their property might be from a wind turbine, should be notified by certified letter of the proposed project and how to access these public hearings. Those certified letters should be timed so that they are delivered at least 2 weeks or 14 days prior to each public hearing. As Jim Niebergall presented to you previously, look at the Boone County, Missouri ordinance for good examples of public meeting notification requirements to use in amending Tama County's ordinances. Tama County also needs to include language to require developers to submit the anticipated construction schedule and a property values impact study, along with proof of submittals to the FAA in their application for a conditional use permit.
Action item number 6, fire suppression systems. Industrial wind turbines are high-rise structures that tower 40 to 65 stories or more in the air. Most building codes require high-rise buildings to be equipped with fire suppression systems. Tama County Wind Energy Conversion System Ordinance also needs to require industrial wind turbines to be equipped with fire suppression systems for greater public safety. Homes may only be a couple of stories tall. Even grain elevators are only a few stories tall at most. Nothing comes even close to the height of an industrial wind turbine in rural areas. Wind turbines are located in rural areas protected by rural volunteer firefighters who don't have the equipment or access to water nearby to fight high-rise industrial fires. Wind turbine fires can spread quickly and can consume entire fields, farms, and neighborhoods, especially in dry fall or wind conditions any time of the year. That's why Tama County's Wind Energy Conversion System Ordinance needs to be updated to require each new wind turbine approved to be equipped with a fire suppression system to provide greater public safety. That's why Tama County needs to require that fire suppression systems are included in each wind turbine approved for construction going forward. The Boone County, Missouri ordinance requires it. For example, the Boone County ordinance reads, all wind energy conversion systems, that's commercial wind turbines, shall be equipped with an automatic fire suppression system that meets the applicable NFPA standards or is otherwise approved by the fire district with the jurisdiction.
Action item 7, the complaint process. Like we've discussed with you for many weeks, Tama County's existing ordinance contains no formal complaint process and little information about who and how the ordinance is enforced. Detailed language on the formal complaint and enforcement process, including penalties and including the ability for the county to revoke conditional use permits and require turbines to cease operations, needs to be added in our amended ordinance. In addition, action item number 8, please take a vote to enact a moratorium to pause any further permitting of new or future phases of industrial wind projects to allow us time to update our county's outdated wind ordinance. Today, would you please take a vote on the public's request to enact a moratorium? Larry, why not?
No comment.
To recap, we are still waiting for your answers to the 6 action items we presented to you on May 31st.
Today, we're seeking your response to these action items on these topics. Action item number 1, setbacks. Tama County's wind ordinance needs to increase its setbacks to a minimum of 2,000 feet from a non-participating landowner's property line, or 4 times the total turbine height with the blades fully extended, whichever is greater. Action item 2, reducing noise levels not to exceed 40 decibels, L max at any time. Action item number 3, amend the ordinance to require upfront decommissioning costs adjusted to inflation to be set aside in escrow starting at $1 million per turbine. Action item number 4, shadow flicker. Amend the ordinance to require no shadow flicker at the property line. Action item number 5, conditional use permits. Update conditional use permit requirements to be much more specific and comprehensive. For example, the county needs to require that conditional use pads to expire within 2 years of issuance rather than the current permits, which don't have an expiration date. Also, Tama County needs to amend the wind energy conversion system ordinance to require a fee of $1,000 per turbine, non-refundable, to cover the cost of administering the wind energy conversion systems ordinance and enforcing it. Action item number 6, amending Tama County's wind energy conversion system ordinance to require fire suppression systems in industrial wind turbines. Action item number 7, amend the wind energy conversion system ordinance to include a robust public complaint process and clear enforcement language, including consequences for non-compliance. That includes adding the county's ability to revoke conditional use permits or the ability for a wind turbine to be permitted for operation for failure to comply with the ordinance. When can the public expect you to take action on these requested items? We're waiting for a response.
No comment.
And what are the next steps in the process of updating, and what are the next steps in the county's wind energy conversion system ordinance? So what are the next steps in the process of updating the county's wind energy conversion system ordinance, and in providing real-time video access for the public to your public meetings? And in making sure that full and complete minutes of these work sessions and all public meetings are published on a timely and an accurate basis. Anybody care to comment on that? After all, today is June 6th. Yet, as of the evening of June 5th, your website only posted minutes from your meetings up until May 9th. That means the county is 3 weeks behind on publishing minutes of the Board of Supervisors meetings. What's the holdup?
I know part of it was we didn't have internet access, and we are in the process of switching over to a new website, but I will make sure today that those are on there. Thank you.
So what action are you taking to ensure that the public has access to public meetings and complete minutes of them? We're listening, and the public deserves to know when you will take action. Any response?
We do have some packets here. This is information we provided to the public at the forum that Geyser hosted about a month ago. So I have one for each of you that you can put with your ordinance information to look at again.
Thank you. Thank you.
I have a question. Your no comment, is this through lawyer? This is not being taken down for public, is it? Do we still have to have no comment during meetings like this? Is this not a work session? I'm assuming with the non-answer, you could say that. I personally don't feel safe with the ordinance as it is, for several reasons. But even outside the scope of the flicker in the wind, the fire danger alone is real and present, and no one can tell me that it isn't, because mechanical things break down. And I do not want my family out in the field when something like this comes down. I do not want my crops to be lost, my livestock, any of that. This is not acceptable for anyone that actually farms. It's also not acceptable for the people out there with acreages. How do they stop that? They've got buildings that can catch on fire. For Pete's sake, we have ordinances in place for fireworks. And this non-safety issue, that's shameful. No way to, there are no checks and balances in place in this ordinance, in any way, shape, or form, that is friendly to the people that actually live in the county. It is strictly friendly to someone, some big broker that came in, found some people that considered themselves worthy of investing, And then we're told we need to consider that someone has come in and made a multi-million-dollar investment. What do you think the land is? Again, I just don't understand that the people that live here do not get consideration equal to those who have quote-unquote invested. It's an investment, it's a risk. No one invested anything without knowing there's a risk. And they've got some big bully up there telling them they're gonna bring their big shot lawyers down here. Is there no one here that figures that the Iowa Nice Intelligence is gonna be able to do something too? We've just pretty much wiped Iowa Nice off the map. It's just plain scary. If I wanted to live in a place that I couldn't feel safe, I would move to a couple of the cities that my son lived in. And I still walk the streets with gunfire going off down at the park block away, but I knew that I could walk to the north. I'm not, as I quote Mr. Byrne, a chicken shit in any way, shape, or form. And speaking of quoting Mr. Byrne, he came in here crying about threats on Facebook and that. Well, I'm pretty sure that guy that started that crap has been taken care of. He's no longer on there. For all I know, could be one of these guys stirring the pot. I don't know. I'm just saying it could have been. Gotta put it out there, because those thoughts have been out. But what about our threat? He had a supposed threat. We have a real and happening threat. This ordinance is shameful. Thank you.
I'd like to address one comment there. I'm not sure who you're referring to as possible threats. Yes, that could be anybody. I've been a law enforcement officer for over 36 years. Give a microphone. And
Come over here to the microphone.
sure can. That makes you feel better. Most of you know me, Bob Volkoon. I've been a law enforcement officer for over 36 years.
Closer to the mic.
They still can't hear you.
Okay.
Please oblige.
Does this make it better for you folks?
Better.
All right. I can yell louder if you'd like. I've been a law enforcement officer for over 36 years. I can assure you that it's not me going out there putting out any threats or trying to stir anybody up. It's, to me, and a lot of people that I've talked to, they're asking me, what is going on up there? Why can't these people get along? I said, that's what I'd like to know. You know?
Yeah, we would too. We'd like to know too.
Okay, listen. That's what I'm asking.
I mean, from these three guys sitting up front here.
Who represents us? Okay, now just settle down.
No.
The reason is because when somebody mentions the attorneys, then they are not to talk. Their attorneys advise them not to talk. We get that in law enforcement as well. And it is a bad situation, because you want to say something, and I know these guys would love to talk, but they're not supposed to, because they've been advised by their attorneys. Now, if you people have legal representation and so on, your attorney should be able to explain that to you and everything. Everybody here wants to be able to get along. I would love to see all this be taken care of. What's that?
Is that legal advice?
I'm not giving any legal advice. I'm just telling you how it is. When the attorneys are involved, nobody can talk. That's always a bad deal. We've all been in that in our law enforcement careers, but you know, you want to be able to say something and you could probably get it all straightened out. Nope, you can't say anything because the attorneys are involved. Like I say, if you've got legal representation, they should be able to advise you about how that works and everything.
Bob, we have a lawyer.
Okay.
We're here talking.
Yeah. Did they explain that to you, how that works then? Or
We know how it works.
Okay.
Like I said, we have legal representation as well. We're still owed answers.
Yes. And I agree, but they are not to talk, okay? They've been advised not to say anything.
It's not a trial,
Then
it's
how
a
do you get the
public meeting.
answers?
I understand that, I agree, but the attorneys don't want them to talk.
But
Who,
you shouldn't
who
say
do they
attorneys,
represent?
yeah.
When does the trial start then?
Who do they represent?
Yes, they have been elected by us, but they are not to talk, and so they
So
can't.
that's not coming from our attorney though, Bob. He talked to their attorney, he doesn't know why they weren't supposed to say no comment this
Nor the
time.
county.
Then, I can't answer that, I'm just
Yeah.
telling you what I know, and when we're advised, either them or us as law enforcement, that we can't say anything, we're not to say anything or make any comments, then that's what we have to do, unfortunately. I would love to see you guys are the three main ones that do the talking or what, would you be able to meet with the representatives from the companies and go over your concerns and discuss it?
Our problem isn't with the companies, it's with
It's
them.
with the county ordinance, not the company.
Okay, I understand, but where things started was when people came in and started getting mad and upset, and that's where things kind of started going downhill. I'd like to be able to see it where everybody gets together, it's just quiet time, you can discuss it. You guys bring up some good points, I'm not gonna argue that. Some of them can be answered, but yet some of them you don't like the answers to. Now, I am on the 911 board, and one thing I can address is the radio waves and stuff, and we have been concerned with that, and we have talked to both companies, and we are assured that those are taken care of, and we will make sure that they are.
Do you have that in writing?
They have it in writing, I don't have any of that with me,
That
okay?
was my question.
But they will be able to, they are more than happy to come to our 911 board meetings and go over that stuff. We don't want our radio
When does
waves to
that
be,
happen?
our next board meeting?
Yes.
I don't know when they plan on coming. They were going to try to maybe set something up.
Can you let us know when that happens so that the concerned citizens can hear that also?
I don't see a problem with it. They'd have
I
to talk
think you
to.
just get the language for them. We have the language for it. They can furnish the language, otherwise you're gonna have 150
Yeah,
people
I mean,
showing up
exactly.
over language that is already in writing, so
They
just,
could get a copy
they
of
could
it.
get a copy of that from them.
Thank you.
Nothing wrong with that at all. Everybody needs to
yeah.
work together. I am so tired of seeing all this bickering and this stuff that I see on Facebook, and then we have to be here because there were threats made or something. That's not right. We're all supposed to be friends and neighbors here and be getting along.
Bob, I'd like to see you on your farm build a $450,000 house 1,000 feet from a wind generator. I'd love to see you do that, but I don't think you live on your farm, do you?
We're in the process of doing that. We were
Okay,
supposed to
good.
break ground last year, but because of cost, I put it off, and I put it off again this year.
Okay.
And then it would go
Well,
if
you'll
we
be getting
decided
a
to.
raise. If you get a wind generator, you'll be making more income, so then that might enable you to put a house out there.
I look at everything,
Okay.
okay? For example, and I'll just tell you, the place where one could go on my property, I may not want it to be there. That's the only place it could go, because maybe we'd have to do something with trees or a waterway, and we spend a lot of time with that. We may not want to do that. It may not be worth the money to us. And we look at all of that. Am I considering it? Yes, I'm considering it and looking at it, but I'm gonna look at everything, and it may not be for me. Or it may not be for the person who really wants one, and it may not be able to go there because of radio waves or a house. I mean, if I put my house up, I've gotta make sure that my house isn't gonna block a radio wave, because it's on top of the hill. So when we brought up this about the wind generators, we also talked about, geez, we gotta be careful of grain bins, silos, and everything, because there could be anything that could block it. So you wanna make sure that that's not causing a problem, because if John and Larry were to put up a silo or another grain bin and it be blocking, do they wanna have that added expense of fixing it?
But silos and grain bins aren't emitting infrared sound waves that could influence those radio signals, and they're also not nearly as tall as the wind turbines.
No, what we're talking about is blocking it. If there's a path there, then there can't be something there blocking it and emitting. I mean, you have a point about it doesn't emit radio waves or anything like that, but
Bob.
it could be in the way.
You recognize there's issues with the windmills, but you don't want us to be able to change the ordinance.
No, I didn't say that. I said, you have some good points. and everybody needs to discuss them.
That's right.
There's been, but, I know, I understand, but they are not to say anything.
See, that makes
They are not to say anything because it,
Is this gonna be? There is no discussing.
so then you have to discuss it with the attorneys. I'm sorry, but these folks
There you
can't.
go, that might.
They would like to, but they can't.
So what if we wanna change another ordinance for something else? Are we gonna have no comment every
We as a
time?
group have
Yeah.
come to try and discuss things with this board of supervisors. We are willing, even though we have an attorney, we are willing to sit down and talk with anybody as far as changing the ordinances to protect everybody's property rights. And I don't think you're against anybody's property rights, are you?
No,
Okay,
not at all.
I'm willing to sit down with our group, you know, the 3-4 of us that are leaders, with the supervisors, with anybody else that's willing to sit there and talk and listen. All we get is no comment from these guys. Unwilling to say anything. It's time they talk. We're willing to talk.
Their
We're
attorney
willing to
can come with
listen.
them.
You know what, Bob?
That's up to them, that's not
They
up to me. I
represent
can't
Tama
give the
County.
answer. I'm just.
Back to Dr. Byrne. Actually, Kurt Byrne, because I've lost all respect, he does not deserve doctor anymore in my book. Kurt Byrne. I've been invited on numerous occasions, and I have it here in text. Bob just wanted to have a chat about how they do things as opposed to Apex, I believe. He just asked if I knew you, and I would broker a one-on-one between the two of you.
And you're talking about Bob Bergstrom, is it? Or
Yes.
Yes.
Kurt Byrne's good friend. He told me to tell you it's a standing offer. Does anybody in this room think that's ethical?
No.
A one-on-one. I've been invited several times. I have it on text from Kurt Byrne. Yet, he and his good friend Bob and Eric Bergstrom won't meet with our group and discuss in front of a group of people what they want to talk about. Just so you know, that's who you guys are representing. Now, my word is my word. I, not in a million years, would agree to a one-on-one meeting with Kurt Byrne brokering it at his kitchen table. Not ethical at all. But then again, I also believe that the Board of Supervisors room is the birthplace of unethical conduct.
Amen. Would you be willing to meet with them? You're three.
We've offered. But you know what? For some reason, I get a text from Kurt Byrne that he wants to broker a one-on-one because he knows me. I do not represent these folks and almost 1,000 people on a petition to change anybody's mind, and I would not change my mind. I am a man of belief and honor. That is unethical. I have those texts on this phone. I fully intend to keep them. They will go nowhere.
And that's between you guys. All I'm saying.
Last Wednesday. No, it's not between me.
No.
I'm because I'm honest. And you know what? I wouldn't do that to these people. That's crooked. That is crooked. You are or were a cop. You should identify with that.
I'll tell you what happens.
John, this is Byrne. Could you give me a call when you have a minute, please? This was last Wednesday after the Tuesday meeting. They go on and on and on, guys. And you stand up for a company like that? Larry Vest refers to Kurt Byrne as a reference on being knowledgeable on wind energy. And he Gee, many Christmas guys. He's an investor in it. But that's what I get from text messages from Kirk Byrne. You tell me what is right, because I know that's not. And I will never change.
Well, I can't.
And if you've got to refer to that, that's pathetic.
I am asking you if you would be willing to meet with the group.
The group?
No, you're three. I'll tell you what, they don't like to have big groups because it gets to be a big mob and everybody yelling like they have this morning at times. They don't want that. They
Now,
want to
let's
be able
don't
to
go
sit
down this yelling and all that
They just
crap.
wanna be able to sit down and talk, and that's all they need to do.
You bet.
You know, you start raising your voice there. and the
What
next
do you
year
think of that, Bob? What do you think of that?
May I politely?
John, that's between you guys. All I'm saying is you guys should get together and discuss it. Now, figure it out. You guys got into this, figure it out and fix it.
Well, we have figured it out,
We're trying.
and we're trying to fix
We're
it.
trying.
But what we get is we've got 3 supervisors that for some reason represent Salt Creek.
They can't talk because their attorney said.
Well, they could be 4. And they didn't represent,
They haven't even talked to the county attorney.
Right.
John, I'm sorry, this is all I can tell you. I mean, you know, we're friends. We grew up together and stuff. I got nothing against you. And like I said, you guys bring up some good points. Everybody work through it. I don't like seeing everybody argue.
We have heard we need more dialogue. We've put on an informational meeting in Dizer. We've been here in front of the Board of Supervisors every week for going on 2 months. How much dialogue do you want? But what do we get?
No comment.
No comment. No response. Or we just ramrod an ordinance through that there was no discussion on? What's your response to that?
Can I refer to that right there? There was an ordinance voted on. No one on the zoning that was asked to do a job was called, asked to come in, look at the zoning. They're supposed to look at the zoning any other time, but this one was not looked at. And another point I wanna make. You're coming in here talking about mob attitude. Was what you just did here not attitude? I believe it was.
Well, you
So
can
if
say
you
what you
can't
want.
keep, if you can't keep
You're not gonna
yours
have,
in check.
you're not gonna be accusing people.
I'm being
of
interrupted,
doing
thank you.
things. Well,
If
I was
you-
interrupted too. I'm
I
about done with
politely
this.
asked,
Good.
and I believe I interrupted John.
I'm telling you, you folks need to just get along and figure it
Well,
out.
it's easier said than done.
I understand.
Supervisors
You
ought to
can,
get along
you can
too.
discuss it in a nice
I am
manner.
trying to.
Now, you're asking me questions that I can't answer. I don't know why they weren't there. You know, all I can answer
I
is
didn't ask you.
what these folks, they're not supposed to talk because their attorney said not to.
I, you know what, and what
Just
did
be
I say?
good little
I asked
Their
them
attorney.
questions, and when they did not respond, I politely referenced, I'm assuming you did. I did not yell at them. I raised my voice up enough so that the room could hear. I take issue that you are calling everyone in here a mob attitude.
No, not at all.
Well, I believe those words came out of your mouth, and your arms swept the room.
They
So
cannot
that
like
would
having
be
to have a
referred
group,
to
big group of
as-
people and coming in there and yelling at them.
I
Like these folks have done
understand.
sometimes. I've seen the videos where they start yelling. I mean, it's like, it's not a deal.
Then don't
I
watch
have-
it.
People don't need to do that, okay?
You're right. They
I can
don't-
understand where they're gonna get upset because it's about their livelihoods and their properties and everything. I understand.
In 2 months, I have never raised my voice.
No, you haven't.
Supervisor.
This is true.
I have been very upset with them, highly disappointed, but I would never raise my voice. And I'll guarantee you, hey, I am willing to sit down with anybody, not one-on-one, but as our group, with the supervisors, with anybody that wants to, as long as they're willing to sit there and talk and not say no comment. We have a lawyer that doesn't tell us we have to be quiet. I wanna hear these guys talk.
What's to hide? What's to hide? What are you afraid you're gonna say something wrong?
I have no idea, once they're advised, that's what they have to do. Now, this is my recommendation, talk with Apex, talk to the Salt Creek people, and set up a time.
No.
And how will Salt Creek and Apex help us fix our ordinances unless they're the ones advising the supervisors?
They may be able to advise you about what they can and can't do, like for instance, you talk about fire suppression and stuff. They can tell you what they can and can't do, what maybe they're doing at other places. You've mentioned the ordinances and stuff that you brought up, they've been from out of state and everything. Do you have any from in Iowa, the ordinances?
Absolutely.
You know, bring it all together, put it all together, discuss it all, you know, figure it out.
You should have been in our informational meeting in
Well,
Denver.
I couldn't, I was working.
Yep,
I
you would've
couldn't be
learned a
there.
lot.
You know, I couldn't be there.
Bob, how would it feel if we just disregarded you right now?
Yeah.
Because we have the Neebles, we have the Wagners, we have the Richmonds, we have a lot of acreage owners, we have the Smiths, who have just been absolutely disregarded in their opinions, in their thoughts, in their beliefs. And they were just absolutely disregarded because they're acreage owners. Now, how would you feel? You've been given the opportunity to stand up here and talk and tell us all to get along. The Earlys, absolutely been disregarded by developers, by these three. They're afraid to enact anything to protect their own Tama County citizens. And they're absolutely being disregarded because they're an acreage owner. They don't count. They live in Tama County. They pay taxes in Tama County. They raise their kids in Tama County. I can name numerous people, here and not here, who have been thrown aside and disregarded because they're an acreage owner. That is not right. So you want to talk about getting along? They're being disregarded. So what are your thoughts if we just disregarded you?
I don't think
and your
anybody
thoughts?
should be disregarded, and if you
I
want
don't
to
either.
disregard me, you can.
And that's why we're here.
Yeah.
That's why we're here. We're trying to voice the opinion of people that developers like Apex have absolutely disregarded.
Have they talked to the developers, those people?
No, you wanna know how they found out, Bob? Their neighbor brings over a newspaper article. That's ridiculous. That is ridiculous.
Bob, we're gonna have to move on. We got our start here at 9:30.
Thank you.
Thank
I'll be
you,
more than happy
everybody.
to talk with you later, John, too.
Thanks for coming today.
Yep.
All right, is there a motion to approve last week's minutes? Second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Lyle was not able to be here. Tammy, you got anything?
The only thing I would say is, we had over 85 for our Benefits Day. Went well, rolled that out. Hope to be doing our EAP program in August. That comes with new health partners. And I think that's it. We do have a Heartland meeting coming up, and that's it. That's all I got.
Okay. Where'd you bring your claims? Okay.
There
it's a puzzle.